again.
You're an imposter.
Oh, it worked. Now the other Ron's gone. It gave it back to me.
Oh, it did?
Oh, I see. I see the red dot.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
I've got it. It's recording. And we got a chat window back. Other Ron.
This is such a dynamic program. I mean, this is the only way to really use chat.
Isn't it? Isn't it so good?
It is. It's awesome.
Oh, I see now a picture on Paula's thing. That's good. I lost all our other chat, so whatever you said is gone now. So that's okay.
Good.
No, it's not. I have mine. Let's see.
So I'm just gonna. I don't know how. I'm just gonna do a couple of things. One is, Zoom is really good at not giving us feedback. Occasionally, I'll hear something, and I may start muting individual people. Don't be offended if I mute you. Only if I do it while you're talking, which hopefully won't happen. If we get weird feedback, I'll start trying to mute people. If we start getting feedback problems, I'll ask that we mute unless we're talking. But right now, feedback hasn't been an issue. The other thing is if you go up to the upper right corner, you'll see speaker view, and you can just change the views to active speaker or gallery view, full screen mode, different things like that in the upper right corner. So you can check that out and see how that works. I'm going to leave it for now on grid view. I don't know how it records though, if it records active speaker or if it records exactly what I'm seeing. So I might play around with that and switch back and forth between active speaker view, which strangely when I'm in active speaker view is Paula, who's not even there. So Paula, I'm getting a video of the Grinch that stole Christmas.
Give it back.
Yeah, so I'll go back. And now, see, it should be Dave. Yeah, now it's Dave. See, he was the last active speaker. So now we're seeing Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
So anyway, I'm going to go back to grid. We'll see what happens on the recorded portion. Maybe it's just going to be the Brady Bunch. Who knows? And then we can see you and you and you and you. And yeah. Anyway, welcome to the video on vision boarding. Paula, we can see you now. Hello.
Sorry, I had to get breakfast ready, or
That's okay.
brunch actually.
Oh, wow. It's almost dinner time here. Where are you in the world?
It's 12. I don't eat breakfast. It's brunch with my daughter, and she made scones and everything. So I'm like, nah, I can't not do it. So.
Oh, well, if you have
How are
scones,
you
you
guys?
can share with everybody.
There you go.
Thank you.
I just had dinner.
Another vision board event just happened. Funny.
Breakfast vision board.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to welcome everybody. Vision boards, just by a show of hands, who's done a vision board in the past? So Rita doesn't have a hand. I know she's done one. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So probably just over half of us have done one already. I'm going to share a little bit of background about my vision board and what vision boards mean to me. And I want to say right at the outset that, well, mine is the only way, of course. That's, you know, I'm kidding. That I'm going to tell you what works for me. And that vision boards are, I don't think there's any one right answer. I think that we can explore them and let them help inform our journey in life. And I was initially very opposed to vision boards. Look, we're getting so many new people. That's cool. Marjorie, how did you jump to the bottom corner? I don't know what I'm going to do now. Oh, she muted or disappeared. So vision boards are for me, and I'll explain what they are for me, but there's no rule about this. I'm not trying to create any rules. I want you guys to embrace vision boards for what they can mean to you. So for me, a while back, Rita will remember this, 2014, between Christmas and New Year's, we were in Georgian Bay together, weren't we? And Rita and her friend were talking about vision boards. And I remember saying, well, I don't do vision boards. To me, it was kind of like foo-foo, kind of out there, you know? Like I wasn't really on board with vision boards and bucket lists. And I had 2 feet firmly planted in the ground, maybe actually cemented or crazy glued on the ground. And during our conversations, I became willing to entertain the idea of doing a vision board and bucket list. And we decided to do one and then meet a week or two later at our friend's house and review what we had. And I got to tell you, something happened. And I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I created a vision board and a bucket list. And my vision board at the time isn't the one behind me. It's in the middle of the one behind me. So if I was to pull it really close, I can show you. But I'm going to show you this in a minute, and I'm going to take a picture of this and share my old one, and then I'll share a new one in the community. But on the bucket list, I put down some destinations like Antarctica. That was the first one on my bucket list, was Antarctica. And I put a picture of a zodiac with people in red coats on it, looking at an iceberg. And I think I finished that board. When did we review those? I think on a Sunday afternoon or something. And I got a phone call on Monday from a friend of mine who wanted to go out for dinner with me. And so his dad had recently passed away, and I thought he wanted to get together and talk about that, which he did. He was having trouble with that because he was away and couldn't get back for 3 weeks after discovering his dad had passed away. And so we got together, and about an hour into the conversation, the reason I called you to this conversation, Ron, he said, was to ask you if you wanted to be a photography guide on a symposium team in Antarctica. And I, pretty much froze stiff and solid. And I muttered the words, yes, I know that, because, and that led to my first trip to Antarctica. And I've since been on 10 polar expeditions as a photography guide. And that was really interesting. That same week, I also had a picture of an audience and a microphone on that first vision board. And that same few days, I got called to do some of my first public speaking. And I hadn't even let people know that I do public speaking. It was just something I wanted to try. And I got to do public speaking. Most of you in the room know that a few weeks ago, I gave a TEDx talk here in Newmarket. And I'm going to show you that first vision board now. Well, first of all, this is last year's vision board. And you see that there. But if you can, I don't know if you can see it, on the other vision board, I think down there somewhere, is also a TED Talk. And so also on my vision board is a photograph of Africa, a photograph of leading communities. I put words on my vision board, very meaningful words. So on my vision boards, I do old school cut and paste. And you'll see that I have words on here, like here are my 5 Strengths Finder top 5 strengths. So developer, relator, communicator, strategic, and belief. But I have other words like overcoming and faith toward and wisdom and different things. I have the word encouragement here, which is a really important part of my journey. And so I put things on the board that I want to vision or have faith toward. That's what this here says here, faith toward. And so for me, the vision board is a way to put out things that are big and scary that I may or may not think I could do. It's not a to-do list. And this is important because I think for myself and for others, it's easy to put it in well, these are the things I want to accomplish this year. And I want to move us out of that mindset and say that, well, vision boards are attached to goals and accomplishing things. The vision board itself is not a to-do list. It's a dream board. You want to put up there things that may or may not be possible in your mind right now about things that are what you want to do. Maybe things you've thought about, things that you want to achieve, goals that you do want to get to, but don't make it a to-do list so that at the end of the year, if you don't hit all the marks, you feel like you haven't succeeded somehow. The vision board is just that. It's a vision to look toward. And what I want to do this year is take the vision board a step further and then back away from that high level and say, what are the things we can do today to take one step toward that vision? What are the things today we can do that vision board helps us stay focused with? Because the vision board not only gives us something to move toward, it also helps with clarity to say no to other opportunities. So probably the most valuable lesson I learned doing vision boards is that not only did it give me a way to move forward, it gave me a clarity to say no to opportunities that didn't align with what I wanted. And that's super important because as creatives, and I'm convinced I'm going to get a lot of head nods, we're really distractible, right? Yeah, okay. So I think almost every one of you is kind of smirking, smiling, or pretending that I didn't just say that. So we're really distractible. And there's rabbit holes in life that just suck us in. And there's social media, and there's I want to do portraits, and I want to do macro, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I have to say, when we really get clear, there's things that we're going to have to say no to. We're going to have to make tough decisions to let go of some things, maybe just for now, or maybe forever, that aren't getting us where we want to be. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that this whole vision board thing isn't just a foo-foo pie in the sky thing. It's going to give us something to have faith toward that we can then back up from, check on once in a while to see if it's still aligning, because life is subject to change without notice. Let's not get too focused on making that the ultimate goal. But let's let it help us move day by day toward the things we really want, and let it also help us say no to the things that don't align with what we want to move toward. Sound like a great plan? Okay, who's got any vision boards? I've got more vision board stories, but I don't want to say them. Who's got anything on their vision board that worked or that didn't, and maybe why or why not? Anybody want to share at all? I won't center you out. I won't ask you.
Well, for mine, I did one kind of late last year, and I'd show it to you, but it's stapled to the roof of my studio,
Okay.
because it's a small studio and I don't have a lot of place for a vision board. But a couple things on there. One is, at the time I was thinking of doing a lot of try to get more professional with my photography and try to get like a client base. So I thought about that a lot, and I realized I probably wasn't in the right place for that right now, for various reasons. The other thing is a couple things that are on there. One, I have a picture of the Guru Award from Photoshop World.
Yeah.
And my goal was to submit photos, not to like win, but just to be bold enough to submit it and have it for consideration, which I did. I didn't win, but they used one of my photos in their marketing for next year's Photoshop World. So I suspect I did better than, just they threw it out.
Throwing it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one I have a picture of a World War II, like a battle, like photography scene. And the reason why that's there is I wanted to do a series of work. Because I haven't really done a 20 or 15 image series of the same kind of look and feel of images. So I wanted to do that. And I originally had the idea of do it to kind of like do Lego stuff, but with World War II kind of processing. But I ended up doing one about the Millennium Falcon and building the biggest Millennium Falcon set made, which was cool. And then the other thing I have on there that's kind of that worked out this year, I just have the logo for the toyphotographers.com blog, because I wanted to write more. And my goal was to submit or to do more writing for the blog, and I've managed to do that. In fact, I mentioned to them that I was asked to write for a different blog as a guest thing, and one of the moderators said, "You can do that, but just let you know, I'm going to fight tooth and nail if you ever want to leave." So that's a win. Yeah. So it worked out a bit both, because like the kind of like the business side, client side, I think it helped me realize that I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And I think it would go on as a longer term goal. But my vision board is kind of more of a to-do list. But both because it didn't just help me do the stuff I wanted to do. It helped me clarify the things that I don't necessarily want to do right now either. So.
Yeah. And then you took, and I mean, it's really important, you took some brave steps that are difficult, saying, you know what, I'm going to, like the Guru, that's a big deal applying to the Guru Awards for Kelby. I mean, that's That's, I mean, we know Mark Rodriguez has done well with that, but that's a big deal. That's like your target, like you're hitting a level that really validates where your journey's gone, and not to win it, but to feel you're at a place where you can apply, and then to have an image selected for marketing is probably the team's way of saying, hey, we recognize where you're at and we want you to keep going to do this. Because I have no doubt we're going to see Dave DeBaremaker get a Guru Award, in Kelly Media. The work has gone from, I mean, I've been there from the beginning. I've watched this passion for toy photography and storytelling grow, and I think you're in an ideal position, and made a great decision to say, hey, maybe pushing into the business part of it right now isn't as important as creating that amazing portfolio. And that's a huge that's a mature call, saying, look, let's make this great portfolio and see where that leads. Because I think making that great portfolio will open up the business opportunities rather than have you force them.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great news. Anyone else want to contribute?
I just pulled up mine here, Ron. It says January 2017. So I don't know if that means last year or the year before.
That was this one past. Yeah.
Well, I actually think I wrote it in January 2018, and I just had 17 on it by accident.
Yeah.
Mastering my Wacom tablet, which I had in the box for 1.5 years before they I haven't mastered it, but I'm using it effectively as well as I can. So I'm happy about that. My new website is up and running and not operating well, so I'm having the whole thing revamped. So starting from square one.
Yeah.
I'm not
Hey,
wearing.
by the way, sorry to say this, but look at the T-shirt you're wearing today.
Yes, that wasn't even on my list.
I know,
Maybe
right?
it wasn't. Yeah.
So
That was a good experience.
Yeah.
Definitely a good experience. And my business isn't sustainable yet.
Yeah.
I'm not earning a living, and that has to change this year.
Yeah.
So if you look at what's holding me back from that or whatever, I'm not sure. I think it's coming together. I've done a ton of networking the past 3 months, and I think that's where it's at for me, is getting out there and meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the big things aren't there. You're on my list. Ron's image of penguins is my dream. That was my goal for this year. As I turned the big 50, I was going to do that south
trip, but life had other plans. But you did get to Portrait Masters.
I got to Portrait Masters,
which is pushing you toward the goal of being a full-time photographer, paid photographer.
Yes, and I'm working on my Portrait Master accreditation right now as well, as you know.
I know, and you're very methodical. You do a certain number of submissions, and you're faithful at doing those submissions. I know I'm probably not going to be doing fall submissions, but I might. I don't know yet.
The next one is January. Yeah, I'm just on a budget.
But yeah, I think I'm up to 18 or 20. I don't know where I'm at now, but
nice.
Yeah. So one of the things I'll say as somebody who's watched your journey, because I'm fortunate to be in the position to have watched most of your journeys in the Hangout. The one thing I'll say is that if hard work leads to success, your success is inevitable. You're one of the hardest working people I know. So, and you'll figure out the things that are blocking you. I think you will. I think you'll get it, and you'll create a model that works for you. I think a lot of what we do, even myself, is we see models that work for other people and we adapt them and we try them and we push them. And eventually we massage them enough to work for our belief system and our location and what we're trying to do. But yeah, I've watched your journey, and there's no issue with the quality of work. That has nothing at all to do with it. It's a matter of business. Yeah. And congratulations. You also had that, was that last year though, that $5,000 grant? Was that this year?
Yes. Yeah, this summer.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
That's been helpful for sure.
Sorry, I kept cutting you off. Did you have something else? Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I have couple of things that happened this year that were on my vision board. One was I wanted to get out of my corporate job, and I did.
Yeah.
I just left it. I actually just walked away from my job. That was not just, I did that last August. It was just working up the courage to do it. And I don't think if I didn't have it on my vision board, it probably wouldn't have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was in the back of my mind ever since I put it on the vision board, and I just pulled the trigger at one point and I just did it. The other thing that I had on there was I wanted to teach photography, and I was quite worried that I didn't know everything about photography. How could I teach it? And you actually encouraged me to start really small, which is what I did. But when I reached out in a small way, I got a big response, and my camera club asked me to co-chair a Nikon camera clinic with a group of folks. And so I've already done one, and there's more in January and later, and it's moving. Things are moving. And I'm working towards building a portfolio of images to start a new business in photography. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's that idea of build a portfolio you love.
Yeah.
And there's several of us in the room that really subscribe to that idea that when you have a portfolio you love, when you have work that you believe in, it's really easy to begin to ask for money for what you're doing. And a lot of people put the cart before the horse before they have that, and then they start wrestling through it, and the whole value system kind of gets flipped on its head because they don't quite feel worth it yet, and then they're trying to charge for it. And so first build the body of work that you love, and then allow opportunities to come to you based on how contagious that passion is. Yeah. Cool. And I'm loving watching your journeys. Like when you started, I went away. I got to tell you guys, I'm going to brag about people. So I went away on a trip to, the sub-Antarctic island of South Georgia. And we had a bit of a session together. And I was talking about building a portfolio. And I said, I want you to just focus on shooting. And then I come back and Susan, how many dogs and how many cats had you shot in the 3 weeks after I'd gone away?
It was a month. It was just over a month. 19.
19. Yeah, 19 dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna make this statement, and I'm gonna make it in my community and publicly here, is there's no substitution for doing the work. You have to do the work, and you have to be willing to work hard at improving every day. And yeah, Susan, you're another one. You work hard, and when I gave you a task, you just went all in 110%. And started producing already some really good sellable work. And
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, well
I
done.
appreciate it.
Wow. Anybody else want to throw their hat in the ring? Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story that happened today. I have wonderful stories. I love to tell stories. And there was a time in my life where I couldn't tell good stories. I could tell bad stories, and I don't want to tell those stories. I want to tell good stories. And so one of the good stories I can tell is I got a phone call. I was doing a mentoring session this morning at my cafe. I finally got to meet another one of my friends in real life, and they only live in Mississauga. They live 40 minutes away. I've known them for a couple of years, and we only just met for the first time in real life today. But I get to meet people in real life from all over the world. I met hundreds of people that I know online in real life. And many of you in this room we've had hugs together, right? Like many of you. And yeah, and that's you too, Paul. We've had more than one or two hugs, I'll tell you. And Paula, we've met. And so today we were sitting down and I was having this meeting and my phone rang and I looked at it and it was a woman who's been pursuing me. She's a speaking agent, and she's been talking to me about getting me some work as a speaker. And that's on my vision board. More speaking opportunities, not just at TEDx, but if you see my vision board, you'll see that there's a couple of places where speaking is there as part of what I want to do in the future. And so she called me up and she got me what looks like maybe we're going to see a paid speaking gig. And so that was our first step in our relationship, her as a speaking agent, getting me a gig. So that happened today. So yeah, paid speaking was on my vision board, and it looks like that's going to start to happen. That's pretty cool. I'm hearing a background noise. I'm trying to decide who to mute, but everybody's muted. So that's impossible. Maybe it's Marge. Marge, I'm just going to mute you for a second. I don't see you, but I'm going to mute because we're getting a lot of background noise. And there's a little, can I hear you first of all? Can you say something, Marge?
Hi, Ron.
Hi. Yeah, so we hear you. The background noise is gone now. If you could do me a favor, when you're not speaking, there's a little mute button over your picture there. You can hit the mute, but remember to unmute when you need to speak. For some reason, we don't have your video, but that's okay. You got that?
I don't see a mute button.
Oh, here, I'm going to click it. Do you see a little mute cross go over your microphone? Maybe lower left icon in the whole window thing. I'm going to unmute you again. Now you're back. Don't worry, the sound is gone. If it comes back, I'll mute you, but you have to find the unmute button to talk.
I'm on my iPhone.
Oh,
so
that's going
I
to make it a little harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just leave it for now, and I'll we're not hearing.
If you tap
Mute me.
if you tap the screen on the here, and you'll have the microphone, you can unlock it.
Great. I see it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Now we got it. Thanks, Bruno. So that's another
You're welcome.
kind of vision board story. But the thing about the vision board, making our goals and plans. Oh, sorry, Bruno, you're breaking up there. So about making our goals and plans is that we don't only put them there, but now that they're in our mind and we put them down on a piece of paper, and maybe we start to make some plans, when opportunities arise, we can grab them. And so we'll go back to the end of September. I think it was actually September 30th, but I don't know. I can't find the exact day it happened. I woke up and I've gotten in this terrible habit of doing a little bit of email on Facebook before I get out of bed. It's a horrible, horrible habit. Don't start this habit. Yeah, exactly, Paul. Don't do it. It's like, what time in the morning? Yeah. But I was on my phone and I just did a really quick, blurry-eyed check, and there was a face, that Facebook notifications that pop up, Facebook notification, and I saw TEDx Newmarket, and I was looking at going, what, TEDx Newmarket? So I clicked on the phone and I opened it up, and it was TEDx Newmarket. TEDx was coming to Newmarket, that a speaking group had got that approved for TEDx to license to Newmarket, in that the inaugural topic was on mental health. And so I threw my phone down and I grabbed my laptop. Another thing you should never bring to your bedroom is your laptop. I grabbed my laptop and I went in and I looked at it. This is for real. So I went to the website and I applied to talk on the issue of mental health in Newmarket. And I knew that what my talk would be. I didn't have the talk complete. I'd given several talks about being a bipolar photographer, but those were more talks about images, less talks about mental health. But I knew that that would be my talk, the bipolar photographer, and how overcoming the debilitating effects of mental illness have led to this unique life I lead. And I then panicked for I don't know how long it took until they announced it, a couple of weeks. But interestingly, what I did, and I just want to share this with you, because I was traveling and I knew that I would be away and I wouldn't have time to work on my talk like the others would, I started working on my talk immediately after I applied. I didn't wait for them to say yes or no. I just said, I'm going to have faith that this is going to happen. And if it does, I'm going to be prepared. And I was scared, that I was terrified of this. I was terrified to get selected and I was terrified not to. It was this catch-22. If I don't get accepted, then my ego is hurt. And, what am I doing this for? And if I do get accepted, it's like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, right? So, but I did start working on the talk, and I actually was rehearsing it to the point where I would walk up and down my park and I knew every 18-minute mark because my talk had to be less than 18 minutes. And so I was practicing. So when they said yes, I had absolute confidence that I could do this talk, even having to travel for 3 weeks in the middle. And I had to submit my entire talk before I went away, a month ahead of time. And so I did that. I submitted that and I put the slides together. I went away, and 2 days after returning, I gave the talk. But I was putting faith toward that whole idea of putting faith toward that thing on my vision board that said, it's there for a reason. This isn't all happening by accident, by some fluke, that TEDx came to Newmarket and the inaugural topic is one that I can speak with authority on. And it happened, and I did it. And so I'm so pleased. But I'm not saying the vision board made it happen. I'm saying that the vision board gave me the clarity to accept the opportunity right away, no matter how scared I was. And then when I thought it might be a reality, to literally make my talk. And so now, as a result, I am challenged to literally sit down and write a couple of keynotes because I want to be a speaker. But I don't have those talks yet. And so rather than wait for somebody to somehow discover me, why don't I make the talks and promote them? So instead of waiting for someone else to give me permission, I am just going to move into it. I don't need to wait for someone to tell me that I can do this. I'm going to do it. And so that's another thing I'm putting out there, is that whole mentality is changing for me, that I'm not waiting for permission from others. I'm giving myself permission to move in that direction, to establish that reality in my life and be prepared when the opportunity presents itself. Because opportunity favors the prepared mind. Here I'm doing all the talking again. I never have anything to say.
Well, I might add that when I got involved in the vision board last year, was my first time ever. I mean, my wife had been doing it for a while, but I did really look at it as kind of a hocus pocus, far out thing, but it's a very good tool.
Yeah.
It keeps you, and we're all, I shouldn't say we're all, I would think that most photographers are vision oriented. And so when you make a vision board and you've worked on it, sometimes when you're sleeping, you'll see the vision board.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it just helps clarity.
It is, clarity is a big word. Yeah.
And the thing is, when something comes along that's very minute, you go, hey, wait a minute, that would work good with this on the vision board that you would have never thought about making the connection. It's about connections too, right?
You've had a season of clarity too, like not just with the vision board, but generally speaking, and I think we talked about this recently, you were able to make a few decisions and get a few things in life that helped your photography, like the trailer where you can now travel and camp out and be on locations for the right time. You can be patient. You can really lean into not just being in the right place, but being there when the right light was going to happen, which took your work to a whole different stratosphere, I think anyway.
Yeah, no, it felt good. I mean, but the vision board is great. I mean, I'm glad to see this meeting because my vision board is getting pretty ratty by now. I've gotten a lot of it done, and I go, oh, it's time to put new things on it. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think the vision board also helps because, like you said, it gives you clarity, it gives you focus. You are focused on specific things, not everything that you could possibly want. But at the same time, what you focus on, you bring towards you.
Yeah.
What you will start to see and recognize around you. And what you focus on becomes reality for you. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So for me, it was valuable in that it helped me focus. It helped me stay straight.
Good. Yeah, I'm all about clarity. I had a question. I think it was from Jen. Jen, you're here in the thing. I had a question in the community about doing it in a Photoshop document, doing a Photoshop vision board. Rita, you did that your first time, right? You did it in Photoshop.
Yes, sorry, I'm on mute because I have this cough.
That's okay.
Yeah,
you want
I
to share
do
your
it in
experience on
Photoshop
that?
and Illustrator. I do it in Illustrator actually.
Okay. Yeah.
So I piece together some things in Photoshop and then put it together in Illustrator.
Yeah. Do you have one that you can share, like do a screen share on, or is it easy to get to? I wanted to have a picture of this already, and I realized I didn't have a picture of this year's new one, so I can't really share it. But
give me 2 seconds. It's on the other computer.
Okay, well let me know if you.
Computers are linked, but I do have it up here in front of me.
Yeah, take your time. But I just wanted to bring that up because yes, you can absolutely do it in Photoshop or whatever you want to do. I'm a very tactile person, and I find that doing the vision board physically with scissors and with glue really helps me with that vision, with that getting it into myself. And then I'm not like a lot of people. I don't keep it right in front of me. I literally put it. There's a place over here in my studio right now, or my office, pardon me, that I slide it, and I don't look at it all the time. I pull it out every month or two and take a look at it, or when I'm having a conversation, I'll pull it out and look at it and show people what I've done. Some people want to keep it in front of them more. Some people need it more to help them with their daily steps. But I find for me, because I don't want it to be my to-do list, I don't keep it in front of me every day. I let it be that bigger informant where I just keep checking on it now and then to see if I'm still in that same headspace.
I might also add that because of Ron, I expanded my vision board to something like the dream part. The dream part's an important part.
Yeah.
Because even though you might not make it, there are connections along the way that all of a sudden happen because you're trying to head in that direction. So that was kind of it's part of the clarity thing for sure. But at the same time, go wild, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ron, how do I share it?
So at the bottom of your screen should be a little screen share green button.
Okay, so make that big. Go back to Zoom.
And Zoom is like Hangouts. You can choose the window, I think, or the whole.
Share the green box with the white with the arrow.
Yeah, and it'll give you some choices.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, and then I'll go to speaker view, so when you share it, we'll all see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I do. How about you guys in the just nods? You guys can see that? Yeah. Yeah, so that's a, and when we look at this, I mean, we can see some of the things that are really important to you. I like that master this, the Wacom tablet. I'm not bad. I'm not a master at my Wacom tablet, but boy, I got to tell you, when I got a slew of portrait editing to do, I never want to go back to the mouse. It's become my portrait editing workflow. I can use a mouse in Lightroom, and in fact I do, but I have to have the tablet in Photoshop where I really feel like a fish out of water now. But it took a while. So I see that branding work, and you have been doing a lot of branding. You've been working on the branding part of your business.
That kind of actually is a good point, Ron, because that goes back to, I think, blocks and beliefs.
Yeah.
And I still have a really big block around the fact that any family is going to pay more than $800 for a family session. And families have fallen off my radar.
Yeah.
But I have a strong belief that people need good branding photography and people are paying for it. So that's what I'm selling because I have a belief in it.
Excellent points. That's such an important point about the business of being a creative person. That when we want to make a business out of it, we have to sell what we believe in. That's the whole point of a portfolio that you love, and then a belief that what you're doing has value to others. See, you and I are very different. I've done very well with family portraits.
No.
And my daughter just came home the other day. She said, "Oh, I was up at the so-and-so's place at their farm, like they're farmers in the Holland Marsh. And they said, have you seen what they did with your pictures? They have a wall of my images. And in the middle is a 30 by 40 family picture of 14, 3 generations. But the rest of the wall is filled with the framed folio images. And she said it was impressive to see all that work together in one place. And that client, I'll just let you guys know, that client spent over $3,000. And so that's my experience with families. I don't promote families, but I think families are a gold mine. And so it's a belief thing. It's this whole inner belief thing. And I think branding is a gold mine. If you can promote that right and tell people's story and find the right people who need to have their message seen, that's highly valuable. And if you're a pet photographer, I got to tell you, I wish Ed Kendall was able to make the call. Ed, I hope you watch this. Ed and Susan decided to go down the path of doing some portrait work. Ed's a great landscape photographer, and Susan was learning composites. What did they do? Ed starts learning portraits. Susan is doing composites. They deal in retired communities. What's the best way to get to photograph a retired person? What do they have? They have pets. They have dogs and cats, and they love their pets. In fact, they love their pets probably more than they love their kids. And they probably don't, but I'm just saying that. So yeah, if you can stop screen share then, Rita, that's great. Thanks.
They probably do, Ron.
Yeah, you know it. You're a pet.
I love my dog more than most people.
Yeah. So it's what I'm sharing is that they saw that he could bring the technology of what he's learning about portrait photography, because the lighting lessons are all the same. It's no different for dogs and people. And then he could composite some little fantasy stuff and put them beside these flowing creeks or with angels' wings, and they now have a business that makes money. Now they're not doing it full time. They're retired and they want to make supplemental income to travel with, but they're doing it, and they found a way to find something they believed they could leverage, portraits of pets, to connect them with the retirement community to create a part-time business. And it's working out really well. And so, yeah, thrilled about that.
Well, I'm retired with cats and horses, so
There you go.
I'm a data point.
Yeah. And you probably feel pretty strongly about your cats and horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if there's a local photographer who's just putting it out of the park with portraits, and they found a way to connect with you for you to be able to get something of extreme value, there would probably be an exchange that could happen, whether it's financial or through trade or a bit of both. It's going to happen. Yeah. I have pets too. And I have a dog. I had dogs, and one of the dog's portraits is now extremely valuable, because about a year ago at this time, my poor little Maltese passed away. And so that picture, the good picture, I have other pictures, but we have this one that's really a portrait. And I really love that portrait. And I have lots, he's not there now, I'm pointing to him, he's left me. But my other dog, we have lots of good pictures of him too. And he's the subject of lots of photographs, as well as my kids. So I want to go back to what Rita said. For those of you considering photography as a business, in all honesty, the business of photography for a creative person has more to do with your value and belief system than it does around your business plan. A business plan is important. I'm not saying it's not, but you need to begin to put a value system and belief into what you can offer somebody else as a fair exchange. And there's room for all kinds of things. There's room for somebody who reinvents school photography and does something a little better than what we get now. There's room just to be I shouldn't say just, there's room to be a school photographer and do higher volume and lower cost and still be highly profitable. When I was a young man, I worked for a local school photographer who had Markham with Jostens Incorporated here. He had the whole Markham region. He was a millionaire. But he figured out how to do high volume at low cost, and he figured out a system to have other people do it for him. And so he literally had, dozens of schools that he did every year. And he used to drive around getting tickets in his Porsche. He did very well. But that was his character. He was very high speed, high strung, high volume. It fit him perfectly. We know other photographers, many of us know other photographers who work in the portrait industry who do very well just doing one genre of work, but they believe the value they bring to the table and they communicate it in a way that's irresistible. One of the things I do, I think this year I photographed more photographers than non-photographers in my studio, except for the characters of Main Street, although 2 of them were photographers. But I photograph a lot of photographers, and it's a high compliment to me for people to trust me with their photographs. So yeah, if you're considering this as a business, no matter what your genre, your belief system around money is going to be highly challenged. Let me just say that. And the most important thing is to get that body of work that you love and then work on your belief system around it to be able to sell it for what it's worth. Find a way. There's not only one business plan. There's all kinds of ways, but yeah. Anyway, that's my talk on business. There you go, right there. That one was Bruno.
If I can add, I'm discovering right now, because I'm trying to start also I'm discovering that when you're into your light, into your stuff you're doing, and then it comes to a point when you realize it's not about you, actually, it's about the people.
Yeah.
And you see patterns there. People come to you with, I'm just starting to understand that, actually. Why do people would come? Why do people would need? And what does it represent when I'm bringing them? Once you start understanding that, it changed. I just realized it. Actually, I realized it taking Jamuna's picture, who's right here.
Yeah.
It just hit me. It just hit me. Yeah. It was like the 2-3rd time, but this time I really understood it. And I said, oh my God, this is it. This is the reason why people want it.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I can bring. So, well, I hope I got it. I hope I'm going to capitalize on that. But it just struck me. I mean, it's funny. It's something that just opens your eyes at the moment. Why do people come to you? There's a reason why people come to you.
Yeah, there is. All creative people, if you're in a creative business, you're not selling a product, you're selling a relationship. You're selling an experience, you're selling emotions. As much as we have products to sell, the transaction is an emotional transaction. Even a landscape photographer, a portrait photographer, somebody who photographs for a corporate client, the creative field is a transaction of emotion, not actually a transaction of product. And when you get that, you can start to see how that works, Bruno, like you're talking about. A great book on the subject that I recommend to everybody is Building a Story Brand by Daniel Miller. You might want to write that down. And Daniel Miller's premise is that you are not the hero of the story in sales. You are the guide that makes your client the hero. And when you can make your client the hero, your price just went up. You're able to charge more because you have just helped your client solve a problem or fulfill a need that they couldn't do without you as the guide. Every great movie is I mean, we see Luke Skywalker has Yoda, right? Yoda is not the hero, Yoda's the guide, but Yoda's really the main guy, right? He helps Luke overcome to become the hero. Yeah, I would rather be a Yoda than a Luke. I don't want to be the hero, I want to be the guide that helps the person achieve their potential. So that's a remarkable business lesson. I took a course from an artist named Anne Ray a few years back, which actually started my first mastermind group. And Anne Ray says that it's not about you, it's about them. And when you can make it about them, then it becomes about you. And that's the whole transaction of an emotional business. That it's not about you, it's about them. Make them the hero, you're simply the guide. And that's how to make a successful business in a creative market. Thanks, Bruno. That was great news.
and it's hard. It's hard to get to the point where you understand that. It's very hard because there's so much with light, there's so much with people, there's so much with posing that you're in your stuff. You're not actually. It takes some time to get it, I think.
It does take time, and you're right. And we're emotionally attached to our work. When somebody rejects our work, we feel like they reject us. And so we're very attached emotionally to our work. What we want to do is transfer that attachment. That's why when you're selling landscape work, I think, John, you and I had a talk about this. When you're selling landscape work, if I'm selling work from Antarctica, I'm more likely to sell it to somebody who was on the ship than somebody here in my own town, because they're emotionally connected to the work. In my own town, I'm likely to sell them a skyline of Toronto or a picture of Georgian Bay, a couple hours away, something they're already emotionally attached to. That's what makes selling landscapes very difficult. Why does Peter Lick do so well? He sells landscapes of Vegas in Vegas. Makes perfect sense, right? Yeah. And so we are in the business of emotional attachment.
And it's interesting you say that because I did a photo shoot and this one dog, and all of the formal portrait photos, which I thought were absolutely adorable, the client liked, but she wanted prints of the behind the scenes stuff where the dog was just running around and having fun, and I was just catching her while she was doing that. And they really weren't, they were probably the most emotional photos. They weren't the quality best photos from a photographer's standpoint, or even an impact that I would look at and say, wow, great photo. So it's very interesting. It's very driven by emotion.
It is. And in portraiture, well, in anything, but especially any form of portraiture, connection trumps technique every time. And when you make a connection, the technique can be out the window. It could be gone, and you're going to sell that portrait. And you can have the most impeccable technical portrait, shot with a Hasselblad medium format camera and pro photo lights. And if you don't have connection, that ain't worth 10 cents. Sorry. That's the truth of our industry as a portrait. Yeah, good points. You guys are nailing it. Wow. So moving into the holidays, moving into 2019, the vision board is the high vision, be free to dream. And let's work. And this year, I'm trying to figure out my own direction. I'm in this limbo state. I always get into this limbo state where I don't have this clear direction. Yes, I want to lead workshops, and yes, I want to educate, and yes, I want to shoot portraits. It's the same three things all the time. But how that looks is kind of changing. And I'm going to try to invest more time in our Thriving Photographers to community, especially to take this idea of the vision board into a bit of a goal plan, and then see how that goes, so that we can use that as our informant to the things we need to do each day to get to what we want to get to. Anybody have any other questions? I might hit stop record to keep it at a reasonable time, but just hang out for a bit. How's that sound? Sound cool? Okay, I'll hit the pause recording. You know what we can do here? We can pause the recording and reassume it if we get onto something really important.